Hey, it's John and Mike from brew-dudes.com. I'm Mike, he's John. We're drinking beer again tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight we've got something a little bit different. This is one of my beers.
Ooh.
I brewed this thing up in a rapid fashion not too long ago.
Very quickly.
Pushed it through. We were drinking this very recently. It's been very hot here, and this beer came along just in time. So this beer, I'm calling this a session, or someone over the weekend referred to it as a table. I think you named it table, like a table beer, right?
I think that was somebody
else. Okay, well, anyway, it's like,
but I'll take credit for it. It's a table beer.
For me, the recipe says session amber, so I was going for something in that 1995 amber ale vein.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to have a nice hop character, not too bitter, and I wanted to have a hop aroma, but I also wanted it to be low alcohol and still have good flavor and decent body. So let me give you the recipe really quick.
Yes.
This is 4 pounds of German Pilsner malt, 4 pounds of American Two-Row from Brace, 1 full pound of Munich 2, which is 10 Lovibond, a 1/4 pound of Crystal 120, and just a little touch, 2 ounces of roasted barley. I use distilled water when I brew almost all the time, and so this guy got 2.5 grams of calcium sulfate or gypsum and 4 grams of calcium chloride. So I was definitely leaning heavy towards pushing the malty quality with a little more chloride.
Okay.
The bittering hops here was 1 ounce of Nugget. I did 10 minutes, 1 ounce of Falconer's Flight.
Okay.
And it's been dry hopped with 2 ounces of Amarillo, and those dry hops are still in the keg in a stainless steel cylinder.
Got it.
I used WLP 007, which is a dry English ale yeast. So one of the other things I was going to do with this, which I didn't do, is actually I was going to collect this yeast and use that dry English ale yeast for a big stout, because this is sort of like a kitchen sink beer. I just looked at ingredients I had. I'm like, I got to brew something. I'm going to use these recipes. So that's what I did, and I still have some other random ingredients that's going to go into a huge stout at some point. But I didn't do that, so I got to make yeast some other way for that beer. But that's another story. So this guy started off at 1040, and he finished at about 1015, which comes in at about 3% alcohol.
Wow.
So this guy's 3% alcohol.
So we could just drink these all day.
We can drink this all day
and be fine.
Yep.
Did you have multiple packages of White Labs WLP 007?
I only used one.
Okay.
And the reason being is because lately I've just noticed that as long as I keep my gravity at like 1045 or under, one fresh package of yeast seems to grind through pretty good.
I only asked because you had that mild and you used the same yeast strain. I didn't know if you had just had a grab bag of that yeast. Okay.
I should. So one of the reasons why the final gravity is so high, even though this is dry English ale yeast, dry English ale yeast will actually take you down a little bit further than normal English ale yeast, is that I also, in order to make a good session beer, one of the critical things with session beer is you want there to be some body left.
Yeah.
You want a really small beer to appear to feel and taste like a full beer. So I mashed fairly high with this. This mash temperature was about 158.
Huh.
So I'm keeping a lot of residual big sugars that have a hard time getting fermented out.
Nice.
And so that's one way that I sort of stunted the fermentation.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm glad that you have the numbers to prove it.
Yes.
You had to help me.
Yes.
Sometimes those mash temps, I'm like, how much difference is this going to make? But you have the numbers to prove it, which is awesome. Yep. All right. Well, I was like, what is the hop in the aroma and like in the flavor there? And I wasn't guessing Falconer's Flight, but I was thinking like more just American, your typical Cascadian hops. And but that's what Falconer's Flight really is. It's just like a kind of a combination.
Nondescript, just American hop profile.
Okay, and that's really coming through, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
The haziness of this, you think this is from the dry hopping? Or?
So I brewed this on Father's Day, which was the 17th of June, and I kegged this on like July 1st. So I really pushed it along. It's been in the keg, and I only started carbonating it on July 2nd.
Okay.
So I've been shaking it to get it to carb a little faster, so that we could drink it on the 4th of July.
Yep.
So it kind of moved pretty quick. So I just think it just really hasn't had time to settle out, and I've been shaking it.
Yeah,
so,
that's the other thing.
So
yeah,
what is settling out is there. When I racked it out of the fermenter, it was coming through the fermenter fairly clear. So this could be a little bit of chill haze. It also could be from the some of the dry hops too. So I'm not overly concerned with the haze.
No.
My intention wasn't for it to be hazy,
No.
but it is holding a pretty good haze.
Now. Yeah.
That could be the elevated final gravity too. There's just some of those unfermented sugars or some of the extra protein or stuff that might be in there is just hasn't fermented. Not that protein ferments out, but just some of those complex sugar, carbohydrate, protein complexes are just sort of in suspension.
In there. That's right. Nice off white head, pretty persistent, looking good, looking like some really good tight bubbles on the side of the glass. And like I think with the aroma, like I was saying, just good quality American hops, just like we used to make them, you know. Just good stuff, and like, of course, extremely drinkable. Like you know, like this is definitely a session beer. Even if you said it wasn't, it's not going to affect you all that much. You're going to be like, wow, this is really tasty, and you can be social, and you can sit down and have like 20 of these and not be falling down, that kind of thing.
My father-in-law had a couple of these, and he says, "Are you sure these are 3%?" Because I'm feeling it. I was just like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it's the hops. Maybe it's the effect of the hops. You know, because for a 1040 starting gravity, you know, 2 full ounces of high alpha hops.
Yes.
Right. Nugget comes in like the low double digits, and Falconer's Flight's usually low double digit too. It's just a lot of alpha acid in there. Not, you know, maybe it just gives you your brain this impression that I must be drinking a bigger beer.
Right. It was also 8:30 a.m. when he was drinking.
It was 8:30 a.m. Yeah.
Kidding. But no, I think this is my overall impression on this is, you know, I think you hit the mark on what you wanted to do, which is to have a strong table beer, and one that would have a lot of interesting flavors with every sip. And I think it's definitely one that's going to keep you going back for more, as I am right now.
I think the only thing I would change up a little bit is, as it clears, it might look more like a darker pale ale than what I would put in my mind as an amber.
Yeah.
So I think I either need to, I would up the Crystal 120 a little bit, and maybe a little bit more of the roasted barley, just to try to get a slightly more ruby hue to it.
Maybe a pinch of chocolate rye.
Maybe some chocolate rye in here. That's a good idea. And then maybe I would mash a little bit lower if I was going to go up a little bit more in those slightly more complex, hard to ferment malts.
Cool.
And see what happens.
Well, that's good. I also like the idea of like a kitchen sink beer.
Mm-hmm.
I've brewed these in my career as a home brewer.
Yep.
They're not always great, but I just hate throwing out ingredients that I bought. Even if they're a few years old, then I don't feel so bad. But if it's kind of like, all right, I got this pound of this left over from this recipe I did. I don't want to throw it out because it's still good. What if I combine it with all this other stuff and then fill in the pieces with other stuff I can buy right away, and then you got a nice little Franken beer. Yeah,
I think you can get away with it as long as you've got a decent percentage of fairly fresh base malt, and you're going to use fresh yeast, and you're going to use fresh hops. You can get away with some slightly aged, a certain percentage of your base. And certainly some of your caramel and your specialty malts can have a little age on them too.
Yeah.
And you can get there. You know, it's a good way to use this stuff up.
Agreed. Well, sir, cheers to you. This is a good little beer.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate your time. If you have any comments, please leave them below, especially if you have kitchen sink beers that you'd like to share with us.
Kitchen sink.
Subscribe to our channel. We try to do this every week. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.